The highest quality protein source you can get, if I was to condense all of the tens of hours of podcast episodes I've listened to on gut health, 30% of your total daily calories to come from. Your meals do not have to be boring. You're gonna have less digestive issues, you're gonna have less inflammation. These are predominantly a carb source. This is your nutrition 101. Well, this is Pixie actually, but today's video is episode 5 of our GYMSHARK series. We're going to be doing a little bit of a nutrition 101. I'm going to be answering your questions from how many calories and macros you need to eat to lose fat, to gain muscle, what macros actually are, what are the best affordable high quality protein sources, and what can you do if you're vegetarian or vegan. There's a wasp flying around in here. But I didn't just want this to be a boring video where I sat down and told you the information. I wanted it to be a bit more dynamic. So as we chat through some of this stuff, I'm actually going to show you guys how to meal prep mustard chicken, which is a really simple recipe, but it tastes so good and I know you're gonna love it. So without further ado, let's get cooking. One of the things that makes this meal prep so easy is that we're gonna be using a slow cooker. If you've not used a slow cooker before, you're missing out. Basically, once you've prepared all your ingredients, you just throw it in here and leave it to cook for like 6-7 hours, depending on your slow cooker. You don't have to sit and watch it, you just leave it to do its thing, and by the end of it, you've got your meal prep done. Let's start by talking about macros. I'm using frozen chicken breast pieces, by the way, but I'll tell you why in a bit. I hope this isn't too loud for the microphone. Okay, so every single one of us needs a different amount of energy each day to live, move, breathe, and just do our day-to-day tasks. And we get that energy from the calories we consume from our food. I don't know why I said it like that. But what makes up those calories is what we call your macronutrients. So these are your carbs, fats, and proteins. Each of them are macronutrients for a reason because they're important for you to include in your diet. Let me just bring this over here. The different macronutrients have different number of calories associated with them. So 1 gram of carbs has 4 calories, 1 gram of protein has 4 calories, but 1 gram of fats has 9 calories. And different foods will have different macronutrient ratios. So carrots, for example, are mostly carbohydrates, whereas chicken is a source of protein. When you're trying to figure out the number of calories you need to eat per day, the easiest way to do that is go online, type in calorie calculator, pick the first one that shows up, and then you can just shove in all your details and it'll give you an estimate for the number of calories that you need to eat each day to maintain your current weight. And that is what we call our maintenance calories. If you're looking to gain weight and build muscle, you'd want to go into a small calorie surplus of like 200 to 300 calories. But if you're looking to lose fat, then you want to go into a small calorie deficit. The size of the deficit you go into will depend on the approach that you're taking and the rate that you want to lose fat at. But I know what you're thinking, how many grams of carbs, fats, and protein do I actually need? Because a calorie goal is one thing, but what about the macros? Here's how you figure it out. First of all, for most people, I'd recommend getting around 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight each day. This is a really squeaky mushroom. Once you figured that out, because we know that there's 4 calories per gram of protein, we can subtract that from our total calorie total. Our total number of calories that we already calculated. I'm just gonna bulk this up with some more veggies. After that, you want about 20 to 30% of your total daily calories to come from fats, and then your remaining calories would come from carbohydrates. Now, one of the things that holds people back so often on their fitness journeys is thinking that they have to eat exclusively clean or healthy foods 100% of the time if they want to see any results. And that is just not true. Oftentimes that mindset actually has the opposite effect because people get into this restrictive mindset and they won't even allow themselves any sort of treat foods that they enjoy. Eating what's seen as healthy foods most of the time isn't the issue. The issue is where your headspace is at. Because if you are limiting yourself to only eat certain foods, then that can lead you into vicious cycles pretty quickly. So the way I want you to view food is look at it as the 80-20 rule. You want 80% of your diet to be coming from mainly whole food sources, single ingredient foods, but then you've still got that 20% left for the treat foods that you enjoy. So you're not limiting yourself, you're not having to think about cheat days because you will not find it hard to stick to your diet because you actually enjoy it. This is kind of a tangent, but I don't agree with cheat days because why would you need to cheat on your diet if you're actually enjoying it? Your diet should be sustainable for you, and if it's not sustainable, then why are you even doing it in the first place? I think a big thing that people get wrong about fitness is it's not a quick fix. Fitness is a lifestyle. So whatever journey you're on, you need to ask yourself, is this sustainable? Because if it's not, then you're not going to be able to incorporate fitness as part of your lifestyle. You're likely not enjoying it either. And what kind of way is that to live? We can't be so fixated on the end result that we forget to enjoy the journey, because the journey is the most exciting part. Yeah, it's going to be hard some days. Yeah, some days we're not going to have motivation, but we keep showing up. And the skills and discipline you build throughout your fitness journey then transfer transfer into other areas of your life as well. So I know that was kind of a bit of a motivational tangent, but we have our prepared veg in here. Now we're gonna add our frozen chicken. I'm using frozen because honestly, it is a cheaper way to get your protein in. I should have just put it straight in here. This is what it's looking like. I'm just dissolving a chicken stock cube in some boiling water. Let me stir this for a bit to make it actually dissolve. But let's chat about protein sources. So the thing that makes most protein sources higher quality, or what qualifies it as higher quality, is the amount of the amino acid leucine that it contains. So if you didn't already know, there's actually 20 amino acids that we need to function as human beings. I'm not gonna lie, I can't remember the names of all of them off the top of my head. But the highest quality protein source you can get is actually just a good quality whey protein powder. And if you were comparing the cost to see how much quality protein you could get for the lowest price, then protein powder does actually come out on top as well. As a gym girly, I'm proud to say that I've tried a lot of different protein powders from a lot of different brands, but one of the brands that I keep coming back to is Proteinworks, and I am an affiliate, so you can use code SophieR to save 10% on your entire order. This video is not sponsored, by the way, but finding codes like that from your favorite content creators is a really great way to decrease that price of protein for you, and also support the creators a little bit as well without you having to pay anything else on top. Okay, we have our spices, just going in with some salt, pepper, and mustard powder. The second highest quality protein source is actually chicken breast, closely followed on that list by eggs and beef, I believe, but I'll put a whole list here so that you have them in the actual order. This is frozen garlic. That was quite a lot of frozen garlic. Oh well. I suddenly thought we didn't have mustard and I was like, oh, my plans ruined, but it's okay, we've got it. There's not very much left in here, so I'm probably just gonna finish it. Now, it's all well and good knowing what the highest quality protein sources are, but let's be real, in this economy, they're not always the cheapest. So some of my top tips for helping you find the cheapest high quality protein sources are: number one, shop around. Not every shop is gonna make you pay the same amount for the exact same food, and I don't really understand why. Yeah, I guess it's a competitive advantage, but can't we just buy some chicken for chicken price? I forgot the onions. I think I was just putting this off because I didn't want to cry on camera. I'm not a crier. So when you're shopping, it can be really helpful to compare the prices of different protein sources from the different shops in your area, and that alone can reduce your cost by quite a considerable amount. My second top tip, which might be actually more underrated than the first one, is get frozen products. I think there's a bit of a myth that getting frozen produce or frozen meat means it's not as high quality as getting fresh stuff. But when it's frozen, it actually locks in the nutrients. So chances are your frozen veg is actually more nutritious than the stuff that's just been lying out in the shop all day or week, maybe months. And sometimes you can even get like pre-chopped veg, so that saves you time and money. Win-win. But yeah, I always get frozen chicken for that reason, because it is so much cheaper and you will notice that difference add up over time. The other thing you can do to save money is buy things in bulk. So instead of just getting a pack of like 4 chicken breasts, get a massive pack, freeze some of them, use what you're gonna use, or just meal prep the whole thing. My eyes, I thought I got away with it. This is what we got. We're gonna give it a stir. Make sure everything's coated in mustard. You can add whatever veg you want to this. I was just using what we had in the fridge. Okay, so now we're just gonna pop this in the slow cooker for about 6 hours. What time does that make it? I don't actually know, because the clocks changed yesterday, and I don't know if any of the clocks around here are actually accurate, so I'm just gonna cook this for 6 hours on high, and we'll see how it turns out. Now, I know there's gonna be some of my veggies and vegans watching this, don't worry, I've not forgotten about you, but what are some high quality protein sources for you guys? Although your options in terms of protein sources obviously are more limited than people who eat meat or animal products, you can still make really great progress and hit your protein goal. So some of my top plant-based protein sources would be tofu, really versatile, love tofu. Edamame, tempeh, seitan, I think is how you pronounce it.
Seitan.
Lentils, beans, chickpeas, and also nuts and nut butters. Now let's actually talk about some of these protein sources for a second, because although a lot of them are cheaper than some of the animal-based protein sources, these are predominantly a carb source. So if you look on the back of a tin of chickpeas, per 100 grams, you've got 18 grams of carbohydrates and 8.4 grams of protein. So per 100 grams, there's more than double the amount of carbs to protein in this, and people are still calling it a protein source. And let's look at peanut butter. So per 100 grams, we have 51 grams of fat and 26 grams of protein. So double the amount of fat to protein, and people still call this a protein source. Now, if you are not vegan or vegetarian, then I would consider this a fat source rather than a source of protein, because you have a lot better options that you can choose to give you more protein for the same amount of calories than someone who is vegan or vegetarian would. However, that is what makes it a bit harder when you're vegetarian or vegan, because if you've got a certain calorie goal that you need to hit, but you also are trying to be mindful of your macros, then finding those foods that are predominantly higher in protein can be a little bit harder to do. So to help you out, here's a list of the highest quality vegan protein sources, and here's a list of the highest quality vegetarian protein sources you could choose from. When you're vegan or vegetarian, I actually think it can be really beneficial to get yourself a high quality vegan protein powder. And I actually used exclusively vegan protein powder for about 6 months to see if it would help with my acne. And it actually did a bit, so another benefit. But you want to make sure that you're getting a high quality vegan protein blend rather than a pea isolate or a rice isolate, because this is going to contain all of the essential amino acids rather than some of the other ones which don't contain all 20. So per 25 grams of this, you're going to get yourself 20 grams of protein for just 94 calories. So this can be a really helpful tool in helping you to stay within your calorie goal while hitting your protein target. Okay, so we've covered quite a lot of ground in terms of protein, but what about satiety? Because I know a lot of you guys who follow me are following me because you want to gain weight and build muscle, but you always struggle to eat enough because you're just so full all the time. Is this light too bright? I feel like it's right there. I'm going to come on to how you can stay fuller for longer for my people who are cutting as well in a second, but when you're trying to get more calories in without feeling as full, the main name of the game is calorie density. So you want to aim for lower volume foods that contain more calories. Some great sources to include in your diet are things like nuts, seeds, full fat dairy, nut butters, oily fish, avocado, dried fruit. And there's a lot of little swaps you can make to your diet to sort of add in invisible calories. So things like adding spreads to your toast in the morning, using olive oil when you're cooking, switching leaner meats to more fattier cuts, or if you usually have white fish, then switch that to salmon. Switching low fat dairy to full fat dairy will also help a ton, and all of these little changes will add up without you really noticing at all. Another game changer for when you really can't stomach solid food is making calorie dense smoothies. So you can take a lot of those low volume calorie dense foods, put them in a smoothie, then you've got yourself like 1,000 calories that you can just sip on throughout the day, and that will make it so much easier for you to hit your calorie goal. But what about if you're trying to lose fat, you're on a cut, and you sort of have the opposite problem? You're always hungry and you can't seem to stay satisfied, and that's leading to you having more cravings and finding yourself snacking throughout the day. Well, we can use that same concept of calorie density and volume, but just sort of switch it on its head. So you want to be aiming for high volume, low calorie foods. Lucky for you, nowadays there are so many lower calorie options, and it's actually a lot easier than you think to make those low calorie food swaps. So you can switch full fat dairy to low fat dairy, fattier cuts of meat to leaner cuts of meat, peanut butter to powdered peanut butter, bananas to berries. There's even lower calorie versions of noodles and pasta nowadays that literally have like 20 calories per serving. It's crazy. But a lot of the time when I start working with clients who've been struggling to lose weight, there's often two things that have been holding them back in terms of their nutrition. First of all is liquid calories. When you're trying to lose weight, if you're just drinking all of your calories, then that is not going to fill you up. It's not going to keep you satisfied, and you're going to find yourself hungry and wanting even more snacks throughout the day. You could literally eat salad for all of your meals, but if you're drinking soda with each one or throughout the day just sort of mindlessly, then you might not be losing weight. I hate to break it to you, and you probably hate me for saying this, but the calories in the drinks that you're consuming will add up. And I know there's been this massive debate on whether sugar-free or 0-calorie drinks are actually a better option, but for your goal of losing weight, 99% of the time, especially if you're more on the overweight side, yes, those actually are going to be a better option because they're going to allow you to stick to your calorie goal while eating more so that you actually feel satisfied throughout the day. The other thing people struggle with is hidden calories. Sometimes clients come to me having already been tracking their food and they have no idea why they're not losing weight. But then it turns out when they're cooking, they're using a whole load of oil that they're not actually tracking. Whenever they're making any meals, they're constantly snacking throughout the whole process. They're not tracking the whole milk and sugar that they're adding to their tea and coffee. And although, yes, these are really small things, those small things do add up because, like, think about oil. That is a fat source. And as we already know, fat contains 9 calories per gram. So if you're using around 2 tablespoons of oil in the pan as you're cooking, and let's be real, most people use more than that. That's about 30 grams. So you're adding on an additional 270 calories to your meal that you've then not tracked. Those little hidden calories can be the difference between you being in a deficit and you being in a surplus. But a few of my top tips for helping you to stay fuller for longer is number 1, in each of your meals, I want you to prioritize the protein source. Protein is more satiating than carbohydrates, so you want to make sure that you're eating that first before you're going to anything else on your plate. That is also going to make it a lot easier for you to hit your protein goal because you're making sure that you're getting that protein in first. Secondly, you want to make your plates higher volume without adding in a whole bunch of extra calories. And the easiest way to do that is just add in a whole load of different veggies. Even though I'm not cutting right now, I really love to think about the idea of getting a rainbow of fruit and veggies every single day. Having a wide variety of different foods in your diet is so important for your gut health and also allowing you to get a whole bunch of different micronutrients. So eat the rainbow. Is that Skittles? And as a little bonus tip, your meals do not have to be boring. There are so many different low-calorie sauce options out there nowadays. You can literally switch out mayo for one of those and you're away. But really being conscious about the swaps you can make can go such a long way. Outfit change! Just kidding, it's actually a new day because I got tired and yeah, I just stopped filming. But I just wanted to touch on a few more points about gut health because I feel like it's a really important topic that has had a lot of research come out around it over the past few years and people are still a little bit confused. So if I was to condense all of the tens of hours of podcast episodes I've listened to on gut health along with what I've read in scientific papers, here are my top 3 tips. Number 1 is make sure you're eating enough fiber. Doing a quick little Google, it's recommended that adult women need around 25 grams of fiber per day and men need around 38 grams. However, you can estimate that more generally to around 14 grams of fiber per 1,000 calories you consume. And fiber is important because it helps promote good digestion, it helps regulate blood sugar levels, it keeps you fuller for longer, and can also lower cholesterol, which reduces the risk of heart disease, diabetes, and some kinds of cancer. Tip number 2 is make sure you're eating a wide variety of different foods, especially different plants. Different microbes in your gut prefer different types of fiber and nutrients. So eating a wide variety of different fruits, vegetables, grains, nuts, seeds, and legumes make sure that all of the different microbes are actually being supported. Eating a varied diet also makes sure that you're getting a broader spectrum of different vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients, which are compounds produced by plants which can support different kinds of gut bacteria. And number 3, include fermented foods in your diet every day. So these are foods like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, sourdough. And the reason we want fermented foods in our diet specifically is because they're rich in microorganisms that act as probiotics. These probiotics can help with digestion and also alleviating some digestive issues like IBS, all by improving the gut's microbial environment. And when you've got a healthy and diverse gut microbiome, you're going to have less digestive issues, you're going to have less inflammation, and you're just going to be healthier in general. So we have covered a lot about nutrition in this video, but the main things that you focus on will depend specifically on your current health and fitness goals. Maybe that thing for you is gaining weight and building muscle. Maybe it's cutting to lose fat. Or maybe it's neither of those for now and you just want to focus on improving your gut health. Whatever your goal is, I hope this video helped you a lot and you can take some of these tips and lock in with them over the course of your winter arc. Or just in general if it's not winter when you're watching this. So if you learned 2 new things today and you're ready to level up on your health and fitness journey, subscribe because we're on the road to 100k and I'm so excited that you can be part of helping us hit that goal before 2026. We're locking in together, so let me know what you want to see in future videos, and if you've missed the rest of the winter arc series, I literally walk you through a full 90-day plan to help you get results, kickstart your fitness journey before the new year. So check out this video next. Love you so much and I'll see you there. Bye!